You get more online tutoring students in 2026 by building the right assets that actually attract these students. So don't go posting random ads, trying random tactics, posting organic content until you've got these assets in place. Now, this is specifically for online tutors who are wanting to scale their student base predictably in 2026. You've already got a premium offer. You're already running group tutoring. And the thing that you're lacking is just predictable acquisition. If that's you, this video will break down how we're helping tutors scale their businesses from 10K to 30K to 50K to 100 grand a month and beyond by building a simple demand engine. And this is the key to getting more online tutoring students in 2026. So let's jump in. Here we go. So here's how to get more online tutoring students in 2026 by building 6 demand assets. Now, here's why this is important. There's a problem. Now, in 2025, there's never been more competition than ever before, right? The marketplace is becoming saturated, meaning there's more tutors. And so the only way to get online tutoring students and stay ahead, if you've already got a tutoring business, is to make sure you continue to look superior. You have more brand authority. You are able to stand out instead of becoming a pebble on the beach. You have a better offer, but most importantly, a better demand engine. Okay. And because there is more competition, obviously parents and students have got higher expectations. There's more choice, so they can be more picky. So they're already asking themselves the question, who is the best tutor? And just that one factor alone isn't necessarily the person who teaches their students the best, as I said at the beginning. It's the person who's able to attract the awareness, the attention, and get attention from these parents and students and be able to demonstrate online how they can help them best. So that when you actually have a parent and student conversation, they're already sold on what it is you do. And so we're going to cover that in this video. Plus, with AI flooding the marketplace, of course, there's a lower barrier to entry, right? Meaning it's very easy to knock up some basic advertising material, content, copy, creatives. And so everyone looks very, very similar. In fact, most people aren't sure if it's AI or human anymore, right? And so that's why, again, it's never been more important to master how to create demand as an online tutor so you don't blend in with all of the AI noise. And plus, this gives other people entering the marketplace a head start. They're able to catch you up quicker if you've been doing this a while, right? And obviously, referrals are a great way to get students. You should absolutely be asking every single student that comes into your pipeline for referrals. If you're not, you're leaving money on the table. But of course, they're too slow, right? Referrals aren't going to turn up each and every single day. Yes, you should be asking for them, but they're not a predictable way to grow a business. And so what is? Okay, well, to grow a predictable business and get more tutoring students in 2026, it really depends on these 6 assets that we're going to cover right now inside of this video. So first of all, why even listen to us? As I said, we've worked with thousands of tutors in the marketplace now since 2020. We've been around a fair while. You know, we're coming up for 6 years in business. Most businesses fail within like the first year. We've done over 11 million in sales in our own business. We've been featured in the media. I've got a best-selling book, Teaching on Your Own Terms. Got featured by NASDAQ and Times Square, New York City. I've been on the TV multiple times. We host live in-person events for tutors all around the world. And as I said, we've been featured in multiple media publications, whether it's on the television or online. Okay. So our clients, we've got many, many clients who've achieved amazing results. I'll just show you 1 or 2 and then you'll get the point. So Alan Sau over here hit 100 grand month. Hit 133K in September. We presented with our 7-figure tutor award over here at one of our events in Denver. Marcus Smith hit 50 grand in a single month. He was a former secondary school math teacher, literally less than 2 years before doing that. Okay. So here's why tutors fail to get enough students in their business. Okay. There's really 6 acquisition breakages. First is a weak offer. Okay, so a weak message, what you're putting out inside of the marketplace. And we're going to cover how to fix that first in just a sec. Okay, so basically parents don't understand why they should choose you. As I said, it's more saturated. There's more competition. Okay, and therefore, if you've got a wishy-washy message that parents aren't sure what it is you do, how you help your students, who it's for, of course, you're going to blend in and you're simply going to be stuck in a price war. Okay. Second, you've got ads that don't create demand. So you write an ad or you create an image or a video. There's no real solid process to your advertising material and content. And we're going to cover exactly what that should look like. I'm going to give you my 2 best formats for creating winning ads. Okay. Third, you're simply just using the wrong funnel for your stage. Based on where you're at in your business, whether you're around 10K, whether 20K, 30K, 50K plus, there's a specific funnel that you should be using as a vehicle. So that when people see your ads, so your students and parents, once they see your ad, to get them onto a call with you and nurture them, there's a specific funnel that you should be using based on the revenue level you're at. Okay. If you've got direct messaging, instant form, shortcut funnel, and misalignment with this is just going to kill your lead quality. Probably means you've got a calendar full of leads that are unqualified. And so we'll look at how to fix that. Fourth, you've got no nurture system. You're literally just trying to turn strangers into students after a few clicks of an ad. Not going to happen, my friend. Okay. So with that in mind as well, if you're not nurturing people who've booked onto your calendar and you're not warming them up, they're probably not going to show for the calls. So you end up filling your calendar up with a load of bookings from parents and students, and then they don't show up. Okay. And of course, if they're not already bought in, it's very hard to make enrollments, especially at a premium price. Fifth, you've got a poor booking system. Okay. So there's really kind of no structure to this. Parents drop off. They don't actually book into your calendar. You might be getting leads, for example. And so one problem is people get leads, they don't nurture them, they don't show, or they don't close, and they need too much selling and, they're just unqualified. Another big issue is that you're just not getting people to book onto your calendar. You're getting leads, but they're just dropping off and therefore your calendar's empty, or some weeks it's full. And so you just lack the opportunity to sell consistently. Okay. And really what fixes all of this and why this is an issue, you just don't have efficient tracking in place. So you can't optimize your business. Okay. And you just can't fix what you don't measure, right? You've probably heard the saying, you can't manage what you don't measure. Okay. So let's have a look at the actual demand engine. And so there's 6 parts to it. Okay. Offer, ads, funnel, nurture, calls, students through tracking. Okay. So we're going to cover each of those 6 steps throughout this. Okay. So this is the system that turns strangers into warm, ready to enroll families consistently. As I said, we've taught this to thousands of students. We've helped multiple tutors scale to 7 figures in their business. And so this is the entire process over here. So the first thing, you're using Meta. So Facebook, Meta, they call themselves these days, Instagram are definitely the best platforms. You're then using a certain funnel, whether it's an instant form, whether it's a funnel page or an opt-in page, landing page, messenger, with a VSL, video sales letter. Okay. Booking them in for a call, providing homework, speaking on Zoom, whether that is one-to-one or one-to-many. Because one of the ways to scale your business based on your revenue level is to stop doing one-on-one calls with parents and students, because it drains your time and you don't have the time to take more calls and your calendar fills up. You do have to make a pivot to one-to-many at some point. And then obviously you make enrollments and you track this and optimize it. Then to make sure this works, you build what we call the nurture system through email marketing, SMS automations, dialing, so phone calls, and then power content. So retargeting, organic, that type of stuff, or we call it hyper organic, because just posting on your social media profiles isn't enough. You have to make sure your audience sees it. Okay. So we'll jump back to this in just a bit. And so that's the actual demand engine. You need each one of those pieces in place. The first part, though, before you even run an ad, okay, is the offer. Okay. So I'm going to walk through the offer that gets students to reach out, and I'll break it down why it works. Okay. So I've highlighted certain parts here. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to get super clear on this. Now, most people have got this in place, and the reason why their offer doesn't actually work. So a lot of people will think the offer is just your niche, like who it is you're helping, but it's actually 3 components to a solid tutoring, or we call it a signature tutoring offer, that is going to make it convert and make sure you can actually scale. First is the actual message, which we're going to cover just here. Second, though, is the actual price point. Third is the model, to make sure you've got foundations in place to scale. So instead of teaching students one-on-one, you need to have a premium group offer, right? And that allows you to make sure it's scalable. You're getting long-term commitments from your students. You're not pricing it by the hour or by like the block or whatever, or just a few sessions or over a month. You've got long-term commitments from your students, and you get that by having a great message and a great promise, which is what this part is on the screen. Okay. But just bear in mind, you do need to have the right price point, the economics, and the right model to make your offer work in order to scale. Okay. So let's break this down. here's this offer. I help year 10 to 11 GCSE math students jump 2 mock grades in 12 weeks so they can be exam ready and enter top 6 forms using my simple math mastery method. Plus, we're so confident in our methods, if your child doesn't make a 1 grade improvement within 12 weeks, we'll refund you 1 month of tuition. Okay, so I'm going to break this down what this is. So I've highlighted the first bit, yellow. Okay, so this part of the offer, you need to be crystal clear on who it is you help, so the student and the subject, right? So think about age range, okay? So this is very clear, GCSE maths, okay? UK test for 14 to 16-year-olds, and who was year 10 to 11, okay? So the only people who are going to respond to this and the only people I'm going to attract, ideally, are, when I place an ad around this offer, are going to be year 10 or 11 parents whose kids or students are taking GCSE maths. Nobody else, because I've got clear on that. So that's the first part. The next part I've highlighted in green is the result that you provide. And if you can, to make this even more attractive, you're adding a time-based element to it. If you can't, not a problem, because not everything you can, but if you're able to help your students achieve and see a certain result in a time frame, that crushes it. Okay, so you can see here, jump 2 mock grades in 12 weeks. So it's very clear. If I'm now going to advertise to a parent who's got a child in year 10 or 11, they're studying GCSE maths, well, when they see me, I've already said that I'm going to help you jump 2 mock grades in 12 weeks. Okay, so that's the next part. The third part is why they want this result. Okay, the students don't just want the result because they've got a piece of paper with the grade on it and they wave it around. They want a result for a reason. Right? And so people will want results for different reasons. Some people might want to go to med school. Some people might just want to have status. Some people might want to get into a top university, college admissions, all of this. They might want to be in a band if they're playing a musical instrument. But for this specific one, it's of course GCSE students, their next step is to get into sixth form. Okay, so be exam ready because we're talking about mocks and get into top 6 forms. Okay, now the next bit after this, so the fourth part, is to help you position yourself as being unique, you need to have a unique way of getting your students results. So I've highlighted this in orange, my simple math mastery method, okay? Now, this is just obviously made up. I've just wrote this on the screen, but this supposes to the parents that I've got a unique way, like a chiropractor might have a unique way of curing and healing and rehabilitating their patients, then I've got a unique way of getting my students to jump 2 mock grades. Okay, it becomes now more desirable. Whereas a lot of tutors, they'll think they've niched down by talking to year 10 and 11 math students taking GCSEs, but they haven't got the result, or they haven't got the big benefit, okay, the dream outcome, and they haven't got a unique way of getting their students. And then if you're able to, now this isn't possible for most tutors in the beginning, but if you've been doing this a while, you'll have seen what are the action steps that your students need to take, okay, in order to achieve the result that you're going to help them achieve. Now, once you've validated that so many times and you've had enough students go through your unique methodology of teaching, you know that the students just need to do A, B, C, D. And as long as they do it and they show up, they stay accountable, they're going to get the result, okay? Now, once you're able to kind of promise that and you've got that in place, you can potentially even create your offer or make your offer even better and stand out more by adding in some form of guarantees. Okay. Now, I wouldn't say that, look, you're going to guarantee the grades. Okay. They're going to get at the end of their exams. Like, hey, I see a lot of people in the tutoring space and it's pretty sad, to be honest, say, hey, you're guaranteed they scored this in their exam. Well, anything could happen in the exam, like their stress levels, their anxiety, they could be sick, or anything could happen. Okay. But you can help them see improvements. Okay. I wouldn't guarantee them the final result because that's out of your control. Okay. What is in your control is you can help them see improvements. So you can make guarantees around that, and you could do conditional guarantees where you'll keep tutoring them until they do see an improvement, and that can absolutely help. Or if they do all of the steps and you're not able to help them see that improvement in the time frame that you're working with them, you can absolutely offer them a month of tutoring or 2 months or 3 months or whatever it is until they do see an improvement. So that can help you. Okay. Now, you do need to have experience of running students in order to make these type of results-based guarantees. Okay. So there's the offer. Now, the next part, once you've got this in place, you're actually able to create great advertising material because you're very clear on who you help, what subject, what result you help them achieve, why you're helping them achieve the result, how you help them, and then offer accelerators like the guarantees, time stamps on it are going to really help. Okay. So there's two types of ads that I've seen over the past nearly 6 years now that absolutely crush it when you come to market your tutoring business. Okay. Now the first one is the problem-driven hook. Okay. So you're basically connecting with a current struggle or pain that the student might have. Okay. So you're just asking simple questions. Want your specific age child or teen or student to achieve XYZ result. But right now, so basically you're stating your offer. So you use this bit at the top. You pretty much state your offer. And we call this the stop part of the ad. So that when a parent or student is reading through it, it immediately stops your ideal avatar. Okay, so that's the whole goal of the hook. And then what you do is you connect. So the next part is the story. Okay, so we've got the stop. Now you can also use great images, great video, of course, to help with the stop. But you're essentially just calling out your ideal student and getting them to stop in their tracks. Okay, so I find the best way to do that is literally just state your offer. And now you can ask them problem-based questions. Okay, this is the story part. So specific frustrations and pains and struggles that they might have been experiencing. And then you tell a story, provide expertise around why this might be happening. And then you introduce your method, okay, how you help your students get results. So the first thing that we do is this. And the reason why we do this is because of this reason. It helps the students. For example, the first thing that I do with my students is focus on learning assessments so that we can identify knowledge gaps, which means the students can focus on the right content, which makes learning become easier. The second thing we do is exam techniques. Okay. And then the reason why I do exam techniques second is so that students are prepared when they go into the exam room. They're able to prepare, they get less anxious, and therefore they're able to tackle harder questions. So that's obviously just made up from me, but this is how you need to explain how you help students get results. And obviously it needs to make sense so that when the parent or student's reading this through your ad copy, like, yes, I can see how that would help. And they want to learn more about it, which creates more curiosity, more desire, because they see you as the expert. You've got a way of helping them. Okay. Now, the second best advertising copy that I've seen work is just a very simple, I call this the direct promise. Okay. So you're simply using a direct promise. Parents of GCSE math students, for example, watch this video if your child's struggling with their maths revision or whatever the struggle might be. And then you state your offer. So this is why it's called the direct promise. So whatever your promise is up here, I will help your teen jump 2 mock grades in 12 weeks so they can be exam ready and enter top 6 forms. That's it. You state your promise. Okay. Now, if you do have the guarantee, then you would also create some risk reversal here. Okay. To make it even more attractive. And if they don't see an XYZ improvement, I'll keep teaching them for free until they do. Or I'll refund your 1 month tuition or whatever it might be. Okay. Click to learn how this works. And if it makes sense, book a call. Okay, so very simple, just stating the offer, and you stack this with a solid video, ideally video over image, because the reason why video would work better, okay, is, as I said, AI is changing the landscape. It's making the barrier to entry very much lower. So anyone can craft up some images, right? But if you can get on video and talk about this, you're going to build more trust, more likability right from the off. Okay. Now, here's an example of a tutor that we're working with who just hit 25 grand in a single month in the UK. Okay. So you can see here, let's break it down. Year 12, the make or break for A-level maths. Who's going to stop and read that? Well, if I'm a parent or a student, because A-levels is a final exam before university in the UK, right? So the only person who's going to read that is someone who is curious or realizes they've got a child or a student or a teen at that point, right? Or the student. Yes, that's me. I'm taking A-level maths. Okay. Now we're creating some curiosity just here. And essentially this is following the process of gaps, mistakes. So it's basically following this framework up here. Okay. Pains, problems, listing what they are, master challenging maths concepts without feeling overwhelmed, building confidence, tackling the toughest questions, securing AA star grades that open doors to top ranked universities. Here's how I make it happen. Pinpointing gaps in understanding. So here's the methodology, right? Where we're talking about the roadmap. Okay, so people desire the route, the plan. Okay, year 12 is not just a stepping stone. Here's what to do next. Simple call to action. So this is a simple advertising copy, like I said, that helped a tutor scale. And we'll look at the numbers in just a sec. That helped a tutor scale to 25 grand a month. Is this copy perfect? No, but it's not just, it's very clear that it's got a stop. It's got a story part to it. Okay. And then it's got a sell, what they want them to do next. So this is what you need to see in your advertising frameworks. Stop, story, sell. Okay. Guys, quick interrupt. I hope you're enjoying the video, but I wanted to make sure you picked up your copy of Teaching on Your Own Terms. It's my best-selling book, and it shares with you the exact 5 steps that I've used with over 2,000 teachers at this point, helping them build their dream online teaching businesses. It went to bestseller in 7 categories. It's been featured by NASDAQ in Times Square, New York City. And I know you're going to love it. Inside of the book, you're going to learn things like how to position yourself as the go-to tutor in the marketplace and the offer that you can create to get your ideal students reaching out and how to communicate that. I'll share with you what I've seen as the best advertising strategies to get in front of new students and parents who want what you've got, how to sell your services, and everything you actually need to include in an online group tutoring business to make sure your students crush it and get great results. There's some free gifts and bonuses in there. I think in the first couple of pages, there's a link. You can go and grab some free gifts on me. But I know you're going to love it. Teaching on Your Own Terms. I'll leave a link down below in the comments and go and pick up your copy today. So once you've got a solid ad in place, the next part to help you build a great demand engine is choosing the right funnel. Okay. Now, there's 3 funnels. I'm going to cover 2 in this one. The other funnel that's not on here is the direct messenger funnel. This is where someone clicks an ad and they go straight into like a messenger conversation with you. That can scale really well up to about 10K a month, maybe a little bit more. The reason why it works in the beginning part is just because if you've got more time, it allows you to engage with your prospects, speak to them, build more trust rapport in Messenger. However, past that 10K a month mark, I normally find there's 2 funnels that scale best, and I'll tell you when to use each. Instant form funnel is best for volume. Okay. So this works really well for volume, and that's because an instant form funnel is, when I say volume, more leads coming through it. Okay. So more leads doesn't necessarily mean more sales, right? We'll cover that in a bit, but instant form, when you're not filling out your calendar enough. So let's say that you've got 20 slots each week. Let's say that you take 4 sales calls a day, for example, as a tutor, and that's what you're trying to fill, and you're not able to fill them currently, you're probably going to want to be using instant forms. Okay, because you're going to get more people come through, so you'll have more opportunity on there. Okay, so an instant form works really well, and the reason why it gets more volume is because the form is situated on the Meta platform, right? So if we see here, someone was to click an ad on Facebook, Instagram, and they go to a form, it will just load a pop-up like this. Here's an example, and it's just on the Meta platform. So people haven't got to leave the platform, so the load times are obviously quicker as well, which is why it kind of works. Okay. Now, then what you can do in the form, you can ask a series of questions that I've got here. You can see, you can just ask some qualifying questions. So what age range is your child or student? And the reason why you'd be doing this is to create some form of filter. You don't just want it easy peasy to go through the form. Otherwise your lead quality is going to suck. Okay. So you can ask certain questions, what they're struggling with, and you can use this information on the calls as well to tailor your approach and follow-up processes. Okay. And at the same time, like I said, you want to be using it as a filter to potentially disqualify people and not let them give you their contact information. Okay. So you don't have bad leads. And then they enter their name, email, phone number. You can sync that to your CRM so you can follow up the leads, and then you give them the next step to book a call with you. So you would essentially fill out the form, they would skip all of this, go straight to your calendar, and you book them in. Okay. So that's one way. Now, here's an example of this. Here's one of our tutors we're working with. You can see here that they're paying next to nothing for a lead, right? Like £1.68, £1.56, £2.79. Now, this is a tutor doing 6 figures in their business. Okay, so they're doing pretty well. It's not like a beginner. However, the issue becomes with the instant form, once you start hitting like 20 grand a month and more, your calendar needs to be protected, right? You don't want to be speaking to bad quality leads. Okay, whereas in the beginning, if you're not filling every single slot you've got, lead form will help you do that, or the instant form. Okay, but once you've worked out how to fill your calendar and you've got the advertising spend to do so, perhaps a team in place to help speak to your leads, then you're going to want to switch to what we call the shortcut funnel. Okay, now we find this is the best for quality. Now it is more advanced, it requires more skill, and I'll explain why. So instead of sending someone from the ad to the instant form or even to a landing page where they enter their name, email, phone number, and the reason why I don't like that, where they just go to a landing page and they enter their name, email, phone number, is really just because that doesn't make them a good lead. Most of those leads don't respond. Okay, so what we do is we skip all of these steps with our shortcut funnel and send them straight to a VSL page, which is a video sales letter with an application. Okay, now here's what this kind of looks like. So there's a simple page here. Here's actually Alan's page. Alan is, again, like one of our 7-figure tutors that I covered up here. You can see. So here's a simple page that we set up for Alan. So we call it the shortcut funnel because you're missing a few steps out, right? It's like, hey, he's got reminder of the offer. I blurred it out, obviously, for Alan, just to make sure some of Alan's content's protected. But he's got the offer at the top, which is essentially just what the ad is saying. So there's congruency. When people click the ad and they land on the next page, it needs to be congruent. Most people's ads and funnels don't convert because you're saying one thing in the ad, and then wherever you're sending to them, whether it is the instant form that pops up or whether it's the funnel page that they go to, says something completely different, and you wonder why it doesn't convert. So you leave a video, and this is why it's a little bit more advanced, because you've got to be good on video. If you suck on video, then this isn't going to convert very well, right? Because the parents and the students, you're not going to build a lot of trust with them. So this is why this is more of an advanced thing. Once tutors are doing fairly well in their business, you've got more, you've got more clarity. You've got more confidence in what it is you do. You've got results. You've got testimonials to back it up, social proof, all of that type of stuff, and just way more certainty. And again, more experience. Once you're able to do that, you can leave a short video that details how your offer works, and then you create an application form underneath it, okay? So obviously, if they've seen a video, the instant form, there's no video there, right? So because there's no video, there's less trust that's built through the funnel at each of the steps. Whereas with this, you can build trust way faster because you don't want to have a super long Facebook ad up here. Yes, you could have a video in the ad, but the whole goal with the ad is to just get their attention very quickly and take them to the next step in the funnel. Now they're at the next step. Now you've kind of got them hooked. Now you can speak to them further about it. Okay. And they're going to pay more attention. So they're going to watch, they're going to listen. Okay. So this video can be a little bit more in depth. Probably about like 5 minutes is a great time frame. Okay. And then underneath the video, you place a simple application form. Now these can be very similar questions to what you could have on the instant form. Okay, not a lot needs to actually change there. Now, at the end of the application or survey, you collect their name, email, phone number at that point. So this is how you collect a way more qualified lead instead of just sending them to a landing page and getting them to enter their info, and then you get them to book a call on your calendar. Now, this secures more calls, for one, because if they've left the page, so if they've left the platform, the social media platform that you were advertising on, so in this case, Meta, for example, they've gone and watched a video of you. Now they've filled out an application form and they've entered their name, email, phone number. Now they can see your calendar. Okay. So they're going to be more likely to book, because why on earth would they go through all those steps and then not book a call? The only reason why they wouldn't book a call is simply because you haven't got enough space open. Okay. And that often happens a lot. Okay. So this is the funnel that I would recommend for scaling, once you're past 20K a month. Okay. Now, as I said, the instant form can work, but I kind of find it does start to break past that kind of 20K a month mark for most tutors. Not everyone, I'm not saying it breaks for everybody, but for most, simply because the leads become less qualified. So what ends up on your calendar isn't as good a quality as something like more of a shortcut funnel where you can add in way more filtered content and warm them up faster. Okay. Now, the next bit just here is really key. Okay. So this is one of our clients, Dish. I'm going to show you his ads at the bottom in just a second, but you need a nurture system in place. Because if someone was to just book on that calendar, right? So if we go back to our demand engine over here, if someone was to book on the calendar, right? Say book a call with you, and then you just expect them to show up and convert on Zoom and pay you a premium rate, you're kind of having a laugh, right? Because there is so much choice, remember, because there is so much noise, expectations have gone up. You've got to find a way to, of course, educate them, build trust faster. Before they come to the Zoom session with you, these parents and students, they need to know, can you help and how you help? Now, you can solve this by answering these questions in the form of like a simple PDF that you can send them. So once they have booked a call, you can send this via automations. You can send this on the page that they land on after they booked a call, and then you can follow up manually. That's absolutely key. Most tutors, they don't follow up manually with the people who've booked a call with them. They just rely on automations, and their show up stinks. Okay. You've got to follow up through automation and manual. Okay. And that's where you might, if you've got an abundance of calls, have some form of application setter or someone like that in there to make sure they can confirm your calls. Okay. So you can do this in the form of a PDF. This is kind of very beginner level, right? So you've got to explain how you help the student, which is your methodology, and then why it works. You can talk about authority, students you've helped. The better way is to create some form of video training or something like that. Okay. That way you can turn people who are cold into warm. And so by the call, they're ready. Okay. Now, a lot of parents and students, they're going to attend this Zoom call and session with you, and they're probably not going to enroll first time, especially if we've got a premium rate. That's normal, but this is where now you do convert these students down the line. You need some form of nurture system in place, okay, which is what we're covering here. So just because they don't enroll on Zoom first time, what you do is you've now got their contact details. You've now collected their data that you can keep advertising to them. So you bring them back into the system here where you can do what we call remarketing, email reminders, email value-driven content that you can keep providing to them, power content. And so one of the things with this power content is a lot of tutors might post on their social media profiles. And the thing is, the only people who are really going to see them, those posts, and then you might have great content. But if you're just posting and hoping, like a lot of tutors do, people have got to stumble across those kind of content posts, and most people aren't going to do that. So what you do is you post the content organically on your social media profiles, and then you use what we call hyper organic strategies. So you then place a little bit of money on the Meta platform to send this content to people who've already been through your funnel or already seen and engaged with your ads and visited certain pages. That way they're getting consistent reminders, and that's what pushes them back to want to book back in with you, keep going back to your page until they're actually ready to buy. Okay. So it's like a whole conveyor belt system that actually converts students, okay, who have only just seen you into paying clients faster. Another thing that you can do is like one of our clients, Dish here, he uses testimonial ads to send to parents and students who've booked calls. So once they've booked a call with him, what he's doing is he's now sending those specific people who've landed on certain pages, like his booking page on his site, he's sending them testimonial videos of students. So by the time they attend the call with him, they're more warmed up because they can see it works, right? They can see he's delivered the result for other students. So the only question left then for the students that speaks to and the parents that he speaks to on a Zoom consult is, look, how can this work for me? And then, of course, he can just tailor this to the student. They're already way more bought in. And so you need to be using things like retargeting advertising, using testimonials, things like that. Retargeting advertising is simply sending ads to people who are already warm, people who've already engaged with your other ads, and you create custom audiences on the Meta platform in order to do that. Now you've got warmer leads showing up for the calls. The enrollment process becomes way easier to close deals. Now, on this call, the key thing to remember is you are selling the destination, not the plane. Okay. When I say the plane, the amount of lessons the students are going to get, the homework, the reviews, whatever it is you're giving them, the features. Okay. So in order to actually make students convert for group sessions, because a lot of the things that we hear a lot of the time is, look, I'm getting leads. They say they love it. They say they want to do it, but they're looking for a one-on-one tutor. And the reason why that happens is because when you present your offer, you're only just presenting the strategy, which is how you're going to help the student. When in order to collect and close more deals on these calls, you've got to present three things. We call this the learning trifecta. One is your strategy. So obviously you're going to have some form of discovery phase first. Make sure you can help the student and get all of that. That's pretty obvious. The second part of the call, which is when you're presenting, first part is strategy. So you present how you're going to help the students get results. First thing, Mrs. Smith, we're going to do is this, then that, then this, then that. Okay. And you tailor it to the student's needs. But in order to get them to say yes to the group session, there's two supporting pillars. Okay. First supporting pillar is the habits that you're going to help students build. So you've got to explain how if they were really, capable of getting the results, it's not just the strategy, okay? Because anyone can go onto YouTube, anyone can use ChatGPT. The information's already there. The issue is the students aren't doing it. And so that's because they just lack the A-star student or the top student habits. So we actually work on the habits with our students so they can implement the learning, the strategies that we teach them. Okay. The reason why they're able to implement what we teach them is because we place them in the right environment. The reason why they're able to build these winning student habits is because of the winning environment that we create. We do that by creating groups of students who all want to be here, who are all motivated. And because it's not just like being at school where the students have to be here, have to be there, these students choose to be here. And so that way, the standards of these other students that are ahead of your child, for example, are going to rub off onto your child, creates belief, desire that they can do it as well. And so we create this learning trifecta that allows us, once we've got the students in the right environment, they're able to build the right habits. And this is what helps them execute on the teaching strategy that we walk them through. If you present all three of these correctly, you're going to close more deals. Okay. Now, once you've got that in place, it's really just the case. So you've got your first 5 demand assets in place. One is, of course, the solid offer, the ad, the funnel, the nurture system. You've now got a great enrollment process to sell groups better. Now it's really just about tracking. There's a few different metrics that we track throughout the funnel. I'll show you what they are, and then we'll zoom in on these metrics, and I'll show you what I would fix. So purposely chosen this one because there's some breaks in the funnel that we could use to optimize it. Okay. Now, a lot of people track lead cost. Okay. We don't. Okay. We track what we call MQL, like a marketing qualified lead. A marketing qualified lead is someone who's actually qualified. And this is why we don't recommend things like, and this is why it's hard to judge with instant forms, because instant forms is just too easy to get through. Whereas the shortcut funnel really does allow us to create logic in the form. It allows us to grade the applications, things like that. So we can create what we call marketing qualified leads. Okay. So again, this works at scale when you need to keep your calendar more efficient. So a marketing qualified lead, there's different costs based on what subject you're in. It's not the same. Lead cost is subjective, right? Based on what subject you're doing, what price point you're selling, things like that. Okay. The next thing that we track is lead into booking. So how many of these leads that you get book a call with you? And then from the booking, it's how many of these bookings show up. Okay. And then from the show up, so from your live calls, how many do you close? What percentage do you close? And then what is your return on ad spend? So ROAS. Okay. Now, once you're tracking all of these, you can now start to fix whichever one is weakest first. Okay. So I'm going to load this tracker up. I'm going to walk you through kind of what I would do. Okay. So this was actually one of our clients' trackers. If we go here, yeah, for the last month of November. So you can see here they made 13 sales. If we have a look, 13 sales, it was costing student acquisition cost £317 to get a student. They did total revenue of 25 grand. They collected 10 grand of that upfront in cash. That means the rest of the students who enrolled would have gone on to some sort of payment plan, that type of stuff. Just so you know, you want to be really collecting a minimum of 40% upfront from your new deals. You can see this tutor here collected 42% upfront, so it's pretty good. They got a 6x ROAS, okay, based on revenue. Okay, so that means that every dollar they spent or pound they spent, they got 6 back. Okay, so let's go down through the funnel. So in terms of, we'll reverse engineer it and have a look where the break is. So closes. 13, they took 33 calls. So that was almost a 40% call to close rate. Now from cold traffic, you're looking in between 25 to 40%. Sure, if you're only speaking to referrals or people from organic who've been just following your content and they watch you on YouTube or your Instagram profile are coming on, you've got to be closing those guys and those students at 50% plus. right? Probably higher. Okay. But for cold traffic, you're really looking at 25 to 40%. In that range is really good. Okay. Especially if you've got a solid price point of $1,000 or more. Okay. Now, bookings into calls, we're looking for a show up rate. 50% is absolute minimum. Okay. You want to be trying to get to 75%-ish if you can. Okay. So I can see here 76%, very good. They got 43 bookings. It was costing £96 to get a booking. I can see here they got 112 leads and they got 43 bookings from those 112 leads, which means almost 40%. You can see here 38% of leads booked in. Now we have a bare minimum metric that we recommend to our tutors to optimize for of 10%. And that's normally automatic, right? So people see your calendar and they book in, okay? How you lift that past 10% is through your own personal follow-up and hiring specific team members to follow up with your leads to do the work for you and book them in, or just obviously improving your offer, message, funnel. And that's why this is higher, because the offer and message was really solid, okay? So now we've got the first red one. Now, what we're looking for, okay, is 20% of people who click the ad to actually give you their contact details, okay? Now, because we've made the funnel a little bit harder to get through and add more friction, this isn't always something to worry about, and I'll explain why, the opt-in rate. And I see a lot of tutors freak out that say, hey, I've got a 5% opt-in rate or a 10% opt-in rate. I'm not at the 20% goal. Well, what you should be really looking at is the cost per marketing qualified lead. Okay, so CPMQL. Okay, now what you'll generally find is the cost per marketing qualified lead, so someone who's filled out an application form who's qualified, is generally probably going to be 2 to 3 times higher. Okay, give or take, rule of thumb. Obviously, it can be better or worse than that, and you can still make the funnel work based on the other metrics. But general rule of thumb, okay, it's going to be 2 to 3 times higher than an actual lead, someone who's just given you their contact details. And there's niche dependent or subject specific costs that you want to be shooting for a marketing qualified lead. Now I can see for this specific subject, they're paying £36 for a marketing qualified lead, which is actually okay. And so therefore, because the rest of the metrics are green here, I'm okay to just spend more. Okay. Because this person spent $4,000 and turned it into 25 grand. Okay. Contracted revenue. I'm okay with that. So yes, I could improve the kind of opt-in rate. Okay. And that would be something I would do some testing on, but I'm also not too worried about it. So my goal with this funnel would probably just be to push more volume through it and spend a little bit more. Okay. And at the same time, create some sort of split test to see if I can, improve the opt-in to get more qualified leads. Okay. How I would do that, I'd probably start at the ad level. I'd improve that. And the reason why I'd start at the ad level is because there's a higher red metric up here, impressions into clicks. We're wanting to shoot for 1%. So this is on 0.64. So I think I've got some room to play with there. How I'm going to do that is better promise in the ad, probably more direct, and better quality video, so creative, okay, and more testing through that way, okay? That alone might fix the rest of the funnel. So I'm going to get this number up first, closer to the 1%. I'm going to shoot there. Then I'm going to try and push through this, okay, to improve the funnel if I need to, if this doesn't fix itself. But again, that will be my testing I'll be doing on the side. At the same time, whatever I'm running here, I would still keep pushing more traffic through it, spending more, because the rest is green and I'm in a positive ROAS. Okay, so it's very important that this is the number one thing that you look at, okay, to make sure that you're actually profitable with your advertising and not going to change everything, okay? Now, let's say that all of these were green, right? Let's say that everything was green, but your ROAS was still really low, like below 3. Now, the problem there could simply be your economics, for example. So we see this all the time, that you're just not building the margins because what you're charging is too little. Okay, so if that was too low, you could make a simple change to your price point. Okay, so this is why it's so important to track, because you can't manage what you don't measure. Okay, so you're looking at a simple tracking system, and this is what makes growth become predictable. Okay, now that's really it for this video. So what me and my team do, we help tutors build all 6 of these assets and install them into their businesses so they can scale predictably. So if you're an online tutor who wants to get more online tutoring students in 2026, I'll leave a link down below And if you want to get some help on what we would do if we were you, based on your start point in your business, we'll help you diagnose where your current constraint is, what you need to do to scale to the next level and start getting more students in 2026. So find that link, click it, go and see how we can help, and we look forward to speaking to you.